Hello.
Oh.
Welcome to hell.
Yeah, the end. The Mitsurubayashi chapter where we literally finish all of Higurashi that exists. That's not true. There's so much Higurashi out there. My tweets in particular been just blowing up with people playing the console arcs. Be like, these are terrible. But you know what? That's fine. We still have, oh my goodness, what is it even called? Higurashi? So I hope we can do that after this. But point is, this is the last one of the 8 arcs, the core story, the finale of season 2 of the anime version of Higurashi When They Cry Kai, which is a terrible name in so many ways. But anyway, I guess, how you feeling, Felix?
Oh, I'm good. I suppose we should address that the last time we recorded was in March.
March, yeah. And
it is currently July.
So it's been a hot minute.
For those of you that have been hibernating for the past however many months.
This is your wake-up call.
The apocalypse has happened. So technically, fortunately, here in Australia, we are able to reconvene.
Yeah, we had a slightly less bad apocalypse than everywhere else in the world because we wear masks, which is good.
I don't know if that's true.
I didn't wear masks, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the reason.
Let's not get into that.
We're not political here, I swear.
However,
except when we are.
However, we are sitting at least 1.5 meters exactly away. We measured it with tape measure.
I was going to say, yeah, I've seen the tape measure. I saw you with that out earlier. I wasn't sure what you were doing. I thought it might be to do with this, with social distancing, but I wasn't certain.
So I've put us 1.5 meters away, plus like 10 centimeters for Ben's little T-Rex arms in case he needs to flail them about.
True, I do flail a lot. I mean, currently they're just clasped on the table. No, I have to confess, it's been a while since I've actually experienced Mitsurubayashi in any sort of respect. I know the story beats. I'm not like, oh, I've forgotten everything, but like the individual scenes, I cannot recall. And I know there's some crazy shit. I can swear on this show. It feels good. We've been doing nothing but record Dendarino, and I had to be so restrained. I can just go fucking crazy on this show. But anyway, I remember some of the crazy stuff that happens, you know, in the first, I guess, quarter of this novel, but I don't remember how it starts. So I'm very, very excited. And for those of you who have read the whole thing, I have the code in front of me. I have the numbers. I can literally.
Numbers?
Yes, I have the numbers.
What is this garbage?
I have the numbers that we're gonna need later on in the story because I don't want to mess around with nonsense and have to play the game multiple times for no reason.
All right.
But we'll get there. It's gonna be fun.
I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah.
I've still been editing Higurashi on and off.
Yeah.
As I've found the time in amongst scrounging for work. But it's like, it's weird because before we got into Minigoroshi, I think both of us were kind of a little bit worn out because last year was a little bit draining on us. And we left Higurashi and we're like, that's so tedious. We don't really want to do it. Then we got into Minigoroshi, had a great bunch of fun with it again.
A great blast of a time.
And then the apocalypse happened, and suddenly our great blast fun time wasn't possible anymore. So it's nice to be back, you know? It's good to be back here in this new setup. We've reconvened our Death of the Reader pilot setup, which you can see on our Instagram at Flex and Herds. We've stuck a screen in the middle so that we can look at Higurashi.
I'm taking pictures right now so that people can know when we're recording this. So that's going to exist. There we go.
And also, because I can't reach my keyboard from here, I'm doing this all with a Steam controller.
Yes.
So we'll see how this goes.
We literally become as lazy as we possibly can. Or efficient, depending on how you look at it. At least let it end with a blissful dream. First of all, the accompanying chapter. The riddle you have been entrusted with solving now finally becomes unraveled. What must be done to stop the chain, and what will happen in the ultimate end?
The ultimate
end. We're about to get KO'd, dude. It's a showdown between the conclusion you reached and the one that I reached. There is no difficulty. You should understand that now. And I think we do understand that, Felix.
I think we do understand that.
There's nothing crazy going on anymore. It's just like, this is it. This is the end.
Yeah, the showdown between the conclusion you reached and the one I reached is a little peculiar.
Yeah. It's just like, I mean, the way I read that is just like what your expectations are versus my expectations of like how this story should end or will end.
Yeah.
That's, I think, is the simplest way to interpret that.
You're not wrong. It's just worded in such a peculiar way.
I wonder if that's for Higurashi, if that's the translation, but you know, the same can be said for all of Higurashi and Mineko for that matter. But you're absolutely right. It is trying to twist and turn things, you know, as much as we can to like make things interesting and mysterious. But like it literally is just, I hope you don't expect this ending, because that'd suck if you like figured out everything that's going to happen in this final chapter. You know what? You know what, Felix? I think you'll be surprised by what Higurashi has in store for us.
Well, codes and numbers is already outside my wheelhouse.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, that laughter always gets me.
It's like the glass shattering in Umaneko.
It's worse, honestly. Everyone is entitled to happiness. The difficult part is accepting that. Everyone is entitled to happiness. The difficult part is fulfilling that. I, too, am entitled to happiness. The difficult part is working out a compromise. Frederica Berncastle. I don't like the way that's worded, but I do like that poem.
I like that poem quite a lot.
It's a very good poem. I think I like the original version I read. It's been a while, but anyway, let's go. The study was filled with piles of books and papers. In that, oh my goodness, this song! It's okay.
I had no idea where we were starting, but I immediately know where we're starting.
It's fucking Soranomaku. Anyway, let's go. In that study, there was a full-figured old man writing something at his desk in utmost concentration. There was also a little girl sorting out papers on the carpet. She almost looked as though she was playing with them, but the serious expression she was wearing made it clear that she wasn't. Are we really just doing this? I mean, this is you. We're all about me character. It could be anyone.
Could be anyone.
You can just pick any voice you like here.
Any single voice.
I didn't think we were going to get this so soon. I'm also going to... Oh my god.
Grandpa, I'm done sorting them out.
It's great. Okay, I need a second. Help me out here with my Gilbert Gottfried voice. I need your help here. This is it.
You're doing your Gilbert Gottfried voice?
This is it. This is the moment. I need you to help me out here. How does he sound? I'm so unprepared. Oh my god.
Well, you fire.
Iago! Thank you. Oh, we'll just go with the old Cookie Man voice.
You
Here we
really
go.
have.
You know what? That works. Let's see what happened.
Look, there are lots of people with the same symptoms. It's way higher than the national average.
Oh, that's not good. That sounds like a pandemic. Well, that's exactly what I expected. There's an intriguing treatise over here, too. It discusses psychosurgery and civilization. It also predicts the existence of parasites that inhabit the frontal lobe.
My favorite kind.
The frontal lobe is what causes emotions.
Very astute. And if you got a piece of rebar through that part of your brain, you act very differently.
What?
That's the thing that happened. It was Phil Cage, I believe his name. There's a guy in a mining accident. Bunch of like mining equipment exploded. A piece of rebar went through the front of his head and out the other side. And he was like, I'm fine. But then the day after the accident, he just started treating people like very aggressively. And they were like, how is this guy even alive? Anyway, it's
Ryukishi is trying to insert some real science into his fake science.
I mean, yeah, that's what the frontal lobe does, dude. That's what this is about. We learned this in psychology class back in the day. Oh, that's right. Well, emotions aren't created by the heart.
Take that, romance writers.
Get fucked, Ryukishi. Get your love out of here. And your heart nonsense. They're just side effects of the chemicals created by the organ known as the brain. If the parasites capable of acting on that organ did exist and spread to create a colony, then that colony's thoughts would be unified.
So parasites the cause of the spread of ideology.
This is already insane.
When ideologies clash, is that because different parasites are competing to expand their habitat?
That, or to expand religion, to expand national borders, or expand a race. It's hypothesized that our different cultural communities and their conflict are the result of parasites influencing human thoughts. And that's
Citation needed.
I know. This is insane. Ryukishi has gone full pseudoscience on us. It's beautiful. I thought we were going to warm up to this, but no, we're just in it. Yeah.
There are people in other countries who think the same thing as you, Grandpa.
Of course there are. There are countless parasites on this earth, and it's well known that some coexist with their hosts and some control their hosts. We've also discovered plenty of parasites that infect humans, yet, despite that, we adamantly deny the possibility that parasites could infect humans and control their hosts, even the hypothesis of such a thing.
Why do you think that is? Humans aren't special in any way.
Because they're all idiots.
Wow.
And they need to be exterminated.
Called out.
In some kind of broad military operation to gas an entire town. Because that hypothesis would also mean changing our view to see the spread of ideologies from the perspective of epidemiology. If conflicts in ideology can be resolved through debate, then they're peaceful. But if those conflicts occur epidemically, they become frightening.
And if one were to treat bad thoughts so the spread of culture as an epidemic?
Oh, think about the Black Plague in Europe during the Middle Ages. A violent infectious disease spread. They forced infected people into hospitals and didn't release them until they completely recovered. Some even died in those hospitals. They burned their corpses. Why are you telling this to a child? You're insane. You're insane. You're going to create some kind of psychopath. They confiscated and burned everything those patients touched for fear the plague infected it. They even suspected families of infection and forced them into hospitals.
Are you telling me that history teachers are all psychopaths, Ben?
Yes. That's what I've learned from going through the Australian curriculum education system.
So they'd hospitalize healthy people over individual ideas.
That's messed up. Is that some kind of metaphor? Replace an idea with a disease. The rest is the same. Patients won't be released until they completely recover. People burn everything that may have been touched by the patient. They force the patient's family to go to the hospital.
People are free to think what they will, right? Thoughts aren't pests.
Thoughts aren't pests.
No, but
it might be from a certain point of view. There we go. From a certain point of view. Terrible book, by the way. If an idea was created by parasites, it would be exactly the same as a plague. In other words, an idea is like an incurable epidemic.
So you mean any communist is treated like they have a disease? I mean, anyone with a different idea is treated like they have a disease?
I know at least one communist, and they're a decent person.
You can't say such things, Ben.
I do.
The capitalists will come for you.
It's true. The counts will come to me and gun me down the streets. That's what's about to happen here. Oh, that's right. If we bring this to its logical conclusion, communists could be responsible for... Wait, hold on. Parasites can be responsible for mass murders of people belonging to different races or religions, but this could be seen as justifying genocide. Therefore, talking about parasites in brains has been taboo since the war.
Don't talk about the war.
The war.
What does taboo mean?
What the fuck? He's like, the civilizations and the pediologies. What does taboo mean? What is happening? What are you teaching this child?
Clearly science and not much philosophy.
Clearly too much. It means some things people shouldn't get involved with. That's why nobody researches these things. Nobody even remembers anything about parasites that live in the brain. They assume that parasites which control humans simply don't exist.
That's almost funny. How can they prove something doesn't exist? That's just impossible.
It is impossible. Exactly. Proving that the devil exists is easy. You just have to show him to someone.
Can you say?
Bleep that out. Okay.
No, listen, that's Arc 1 of Umineko. That's officially on the table. We're allowed to talk about that.
You know what, you're right. We can technically spoil all of Arc 1.
That by our own rules, we can do that.
But not the tips. I don't want to spoil the tips. But yes, Devil's Proof is an important concept in Umineko. It's heavily scrutinized. I love it. So remember when we played Umineko and we had that revelation where we were like, there's one like specific, philosophical idea that's important to each arc. And he spends fucking 20 hours on one philosophical idea. I love it.
It's interesting. I mean, I think I'll wait until the end of the scene before I fully explore this idea, but it's like, I'm curious how actively Ryukishi is presenting the idea that Takano's grandfather is...
What? Who's Takano?
Listen, I'm just saying.
I've never seen a Takano in this scene.
That's right. You haven't. You know what? I could be wrong. I could still be wrong.
No, it's true. This could be Keiichi.
But then I would have spent however many arcs it's been being wrong, and that's unacceptable.
It's true. It's true.
But I wonder how much it is that he's like actively insane and that he is trying to treat ideology as epidemiology, and whether that's something that's actually on the table or whether this is just Ryukishi explaining the pseudoscience behind the story.
Yeah. It's a bit of both, but I mean, we're not going to get fully into Umineko, but like Ryukishi poses a lot of ideas, especially in the closing parts of this arc.
Yeah.
The closing part of the story that he then goes to like heavily criticize when he writes Umineko. So I think there is room to believe that Ryukishi like is fully on board with this stuff, that he like believes this is true at the time that he wrote this, but whether he still believes it is, a bit more up in the air.
Yeah. We'll talk more about that at the end of the scene.
Yeah, we will. You just have to show it to someone. But you can't prove he doesn't exist. You can't show somebody that's something that doesn't exist.
It's almost as if the parasites in the brain are controlling people so that they can keep their own existence a secret.
It seems like a good plot for a murder mystery.
Me and my grandfather shared a happy laugh together.
Haha!
Ben, do you think people are going to notice that this is actually just a fully recycled voice and that I was just making it sound angry?
No,
Okay,
they'll never know.
Just checking.
I think it's a good voice, by the way.
Thank you.
Humans are simply another animal in this natural world. We might be at the top of the food chain, but it's foolish to think that we are superior to others just because we're at the top of the food chain. Makes us superior. It doesn't make us superior. Humans can be controlled by parasites. Just because the existence of such parasites hasn't been proven doesn't mean they don't exist. They exist. I know they do.
That's happened before in the scientific world, right?
That's right, little girl.
Like that time that Caconia spoilers.
What a good game. Not all scientists are recognized for their work while they're alive. There were many who were ridiculed and couldn't prove their theories to be true.
But Grandpa, I hope your theory will be recognized before you die. Otherwise, it would be so sad.
It'd be very sad.
Very tragic.
Very tragic and motivating. Don't worry, God doesn't ignore people who work hard. Hard work always pays off in the end.
But when will that happen?
Oh, nobody knows when God is going to descend from heaven. It's like you never know when you'll be robbed. So, what a great comparison. So we always have to be alert and ready so that we don't miss our chance.
This guy reads like such a fucking sociopath.
Is, though, that is the Bible. The Bible says that the second coming will occur like a thief in the night. That nobody's going to know what happens. So shout out to Higurashi for reading the Bible.
Shout out to Higurashi for consistently knowing more about Western mythology than me.
Yeah.
Who has lived in Western society my entire life.
I'm the bridge between the two of you. I know more than you, but probably not as much as Higurashi. So we're all good.
That was something my grandfather said all the time. Nobody knows when efforts will bear fruit, but it will happen one day.
That's so funny.
That's why you must always work hard, so you have no regrets when the time comes.
I love this.
Your efforts will bear fruit someday. That's what he meant.
I love that they're directly comparing this old man's philosophy to the second coming of God, which, I mean, shouts to Higurashi's ending.
Yeah, man, have you figured out what characters these are yet?
It's so good.
Oh, no.
It's okay. Look, I'm not saying any names anymore, but you should figure it out.
But is it going to happen before you die? Even though there were so many scientists whose work weren't recognized while they were alive. It was such a cruel thing to say, but I didn't mean to be cruel.
Damn.
I'd seen how hard my grandfather had been working. I also knew he wouldn't live forever. I just wanted his work to gain recognition before he died.
She's a very grown-up girl for not knowing the word taboo. Do you know of this little story about a baby boy, Jesus Christ, who was resurrected after 3 days?
Yeah, he was like a superstar and they did a musical.
Jesus is my superhero. That one.
That's the one. I've definitely seen it.
I mean, I've heard that song, but it's not from Jesus Christ Superstar. I don't actually know any of the songs from that musical. I should watch it. That should be our homework for next time we record.
And the rest of you go watch Life of Brian.
Yeah, that's a better movie.
Yeah, he was crucified and resurrected after 3 days. You told me about it.
Oh boy. How do you think Jesus was resurrected?
Didn't he just get up as if he was waking up in the morning?
Are they about to say parasites brought his corpse back to life? Is that what's about to happen? He was buried after his execution, so his body was in the ground.
Is that accurate?
I mean, it was behind a giant boulder and covered in like cloth. I don't know if it was like buried, like it wasn't covered in dirt. That's not how they entombed them back then.
Did he break open the tombstone and crawl out like a zombie?
No, that wouldn't be called a resurrection. The sinners who killed Jesus imagine exactly the same thing. Jesus predicted just before he was executed that he would come back to life after 3 days. The sinners buried Jesus, sealed his tomb with a big-ass boulder, and posted guards to watch over it. But what Jesus meant wasn't that he would resurrect physically. He meant his teachings would be resurrected. That is a hot take. That is a fucking hot take. After 3 days, Jesus' teachings were resurrected and people regained their belief. The hearts of those who wanted to be shown the proper way revived his teachings. That's what the resurrection of Jesus is all about. He came back to life in the hearts of his believers. Jesus doesn't exist physically on this earth, but he exists in people's hearts. In other words, that's when Jesus became an existence superior to humans. That's a very hot take because in the Bible, that is not what most denominations of Christianity believe. They believe that he physically moved a boulder, blinded some guards, assumedly, walked out, And then when Mary Magdalene came to the tomb to like, I don't know, check on him, the angel was like, hey, Jesus broke out of the tomb. That's like the greatest heist of all time, right?
Put that in Payday. Listen, as we've covered many times on the show, I'm not terribly familiar with the stories of these things, but that's always kind of one of the fascinating debates about religion.
Yeah,
is that
Mm-hmm.
mythology is always written as though it actually happened, regardless of what culture you look at, because the whole preface to a mythological story is that it is a telling of events in this kind of supernatural way. So, like, it's difficult to kind of look back on those examples and look at how churches interpret it today and say whether or not the way that they are reading the text is accurate or not. And that's an entire different debate for the Christian community.
Yeah.
But it's just interesting, like, seeing that this style of interpretation has also been keen through history, like as we were talking about all the way back in Arc 1, that book over to your left by Ian Plant talking about, basically it goes into the idea that even though all of these stories were written as factual things, like the gods did this happened, all of it is really just like, different interpretations of real events written in this fanciful way to kind of tie them all together and make the stories memorable so that people could do things like carry on tradition, so that people knew things like when to harvest.
Yep, for sure. I mean, if you read the Bible, there is an entire book. Oh my goodness, is it Leviticus? No, it's the one, it's Numbers. It's all the ones after Exodus happens. Leviticus and Numbers, all those ones, where it is literally just a list of rules. Like, there is no story to those books. It's just like, a man should do this, and you should do these things, and these are the offering. Like, you need to, give an offering, either 16 sheep or 2 cows or 1 chicken or whatever. Like, there are so many chapters in the Bible books that just forego the narrative entirely to just tell rules. That's fascinating.
True, but at the same time, it kind of still tells a narrative in the concept.
I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you. I just find it interesting that there are some parts that are so explicit about the intent. But yeah, go on.
Yeah, but like even those parts, the story is that these rules were passed down from the word of God. So even though there isn't an intrinsic narrative, there is a contextual narrative to those things.
Yeah, I feel that. It's very interesting because, of course, for Higurashi to write a novel, whether this is his opinion or not, it seems like it's his opinion, given that it was the like third person narration there. That Jesus never physically resurrected. I find that so interesting that he would just assert that, because if you go to any, like, I mean, I grew up with a lot of Christian communities. If you go to any of those, the debate is less about like, is it real? It's like, let's see what sorts of cultural thing. Like the argument that I always hear is like, the first person to know about Jesus resurrecting was a woman, and women weren't very well trusted. So it doesn't make sense if it's a fabricated like story or lie to have a woman like be the witness historically. And that's what they focus in on. Whereas Higurashi he's not even trying to like tackle history. He's just thrown it aside and said it's a metaphor. Like, it's all it is. Which I find to be just a very bold decision for Higurashi to take here.
Well, I guess
he's not directly advertising to the West.
Well, the other thing that's interesting about that, though, is that if you look then back at the idea of the devil's proof, is that's exactly the same situation there, where you can't prove whether or not one of these two things exists unless you were to directly show that it happened. But it also means that one is not mutually exclusive from the other existing. So the fact...
that it's a physical thing that happened and that it's also a metaphor?
Yes. Like, that's kind of...
interesting.
I mean, I don't want to go into that too much, because then we're getting into my interpretation of some of the like theses of Umaneko.
Boo.
But the idea that something has to be one or the other is very constrictive and doesn't look at how myth is constructed from real events.
Sure. No, I agree. Really, what we're saying is you should, like, once we finish this, go watch Umaneko. Everybody just go watch that. And
That's right.
We literally discuss this over, like, 100 hours of playtime. So, even if it's after the author's death, as long as his work receives a fair valuation, it will live again as a great achievement. If my body is gone by then, my life will return and receive recognition.
Does that mean you'll become a god just like Jesus did?
Indeed, although many Christians would say that the Son, the Father, the Holy Spirit are separate beings, and Jesus isn't a god, but the Son of God, but that's beside the point.
This is a lot of theology for one episode.
I'm just saying! I know this shit! Anyway, it's fine. My research will be recognized for what it is someday. That's when I will become a god! That's why I'm not in a rush to achieve that recognition. I don't know when that day will come. God doesn't know that either. But that day will come. That's why I need to continue to work as hard as I can. Dots.
It was very sad to hear my grandfather say that his life would end one day.
Oh.
He wasn't ill and he didn't only have a few years left to live, but set next to the average lifespan, his years remaining didn't look like much. The only person left in my life was my grandfather, so I didn't even want to consider what it would be like with him gone. Grandfather must have remembered that I didn't like to talk about that subject. With a tender smile, he gently patted my head.
Of course, I want my research to be recognized before I die. I will do my best.
Yeah, I'll do my best to help you too. I purposefully didn't mention the before you die part. I caught myself before I said it.
Oof. Thank you. That makes me very happy to hear.
Grandfather smiled in satisfaction.
You always got a big smile.
His research wasn't exactly outrageous. He wasn't trying to uncover the mysteries of the universe. He was only searching for the possibility that parasites could be responsible for human behavior. Nothing more than that. Nothing outrageous. It really wasn't a wild idea. We even had some leads.
We had at least one. Oh, there it is.
In Amizawa village, Shishibone City, that prefecture. The villagers there are possessed by a powerful homesickness. When they are unable to return, they allegedly behave abnormally as if they are cursed. There are also some bizarre rules in place in the village based on their belief system. When he was working with the military during the war, my grandfather noticed similarities between the people in Hinamizawa and assumed that some kind of existence was responsible for their odd behavior. He'd been researching it ever since then.
She knows all of this? She's like 10 years old! What is happening?
I mean, listen, when you're raised by a pack of nerds, you become a pack of nerds.
But it's not just nerd stuff, though. It's like, I know about military secrets, and like... There's a curse in a horrible village.
Is coming back and saying, man, that one guy from Hinamizawa was a fucking whack job, a military secret?
I'm just saying. It seems like she has this all categorized because we're being told this information as though we've read the past 7 chapters. I'm just saying.
Listen, Ben, you have to understand that this is Japan and that apparently...
And they're okay with just talking about the military with their 10-year-old,
apparently
11-year-old
small
kids.
young little girls and
You know what, they get
400-year-old gods are not mutually exclusive
they're
beings.
definitely not. They're the same thing. You see a little girl in Japan, you're like, are they immortal? Do they age? These are real questions you have to consider in Japan as you're just walking down the street. Why is that kid on their own? Should I get their parents? Should I perform an exorcism? I don't know. I have to talk to them and find out, and I don't want to. They could say something like Sugoi at me, and then what do? I run. I'm done. I'm out.
In the middle of the 20th century, numerous strange diseases were discovered all over Japan. Most of them were caused by infectious parasites, and people started to pay attention to this forgotten field of study. Grandfather's research was simply one of those investigations into such diseases. Therefore, he believed it would be published amongst other research and attain recognition soon.
Nice.
But if his research didn't bear fruit before his death, I wanted to continue it.
Oh.
I wanted to continue his research. Grandfather taught me. Resurrection isn't something that happens physically. It's when your life's work is never repeated. That's why...
What?
Sorry.
What? That was coming from a place in the heart, what that was.
That's what he meant by resurrection. That's when he'll become a god. So when my grandfather dies, he'll still be with me forever. I wouldn't have to be alone ever again.
Oh.
I'll always be with my grandpa. Our works will gain recognition, and we will both become gods, gaining eternal peace.
Well, that's a really wholesome wish.
I will make my grandfather into a god. I will become a god.
You will?
Therefore, we will be granted eternity.
Do you have some kind of strong will, little girl?
We'll be together, forever and ever.
Oh, God.
What a weird way to just view legacy as a concept.
I know. If people remember me, I'll become like a god. That's how that works. Oh my goodness. Do you have anything else to say before we just go completely in a crazy town?
Oh, this is crazy.
Yeah,
Crazy
this is
Town wasn't the previous bit?
That wasn't Crazy Town.
Okay.
This is what I expected
All right.
the story to start with. This is more Crazy Town than what we just read. So, do you want to say anything before we completely change tones and everything?
I think in general, the interesting thing to me about that sequence is, as I was saying, like, is Rikushi saying that the whole parasites thing is just the delusions of Takano and her grandfather?
Yeah.
Or is
it possible that it's real in the real world?
Yes.
Basically, yeah, no.
Because that was one of my major criticisms of Arc 6 and 7, is that it spent so much time on this dumb fucking pseudoscience that, like, was fine because, you know, if it's a pseudoscientific fantasy element to the story, that's okay.
It's world building.
The difference I felt was that the execution in Arc 6 and 7 kept trying to make it feel like it was a real plausible thing.
Sure.
Which I think was a little overcooked.
Maybe.
It spent so much time on it that it was uninteresting.
Sure.
Going back to what you were saying about parts of the Bible, it was the rules part of the Bible, where the story takes a back seat, and we have to assume that if it is a mythology, that it is a contextual mythology rather than an intrinsic mythology.
Yeah, which makes it less interesting because you're not puzzling it out anymore. Like, I mean, as Rikushi said, like we're getting all of the answers. We're like learning the truth behind everything. But sometimes it's okay to not peek behind the curtain. Sometimes, you know, a story might be much more, infinitely more compelling if we just never are explicitly told X means Y. We just infer it, and like it is a true, like X means Y, but we are never explicitly shown that. You know, the devil exists, but we never see the devil. Is much more interesting than having the devil do a tap dance.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you more or less. At least certainly with chapter 7 or with arc 7. That was definitely where I started to find it particularly grating. But I don't know. Like, we'll have to see. I know that this concept is expanded on in a couple of the additional arcs that Rikushi wrote, and I thought it was fucking stupid in those. So, you know, look, say what you will about the Higurashi arc that was turned into an anime episode, an OVA no less, called Outbreak. It had some good music and some okay like action sequences, but the plot was garbage. Point is, I hope this is better, is what I'm trying to say.
All right, let's get into Crazy Town.
All right, this is
Who
you.
is this?
This is you, I assume.
This is me?
It's the same character.
This is me?
Yeah, this is you. This is the same character. This is the same character. Unless I'm wrong, but I'm all but certain that this is the same character in the same voice, just hanging out, having a good time. Looking at a key.
I know you and I love roasting off camera all of the people in the community who complain about them putting spoilers in the game art.
Yeah.
But even having seen the game art,
it's very vague.
I was not expecting the first two scenes to be explicitly with her.
You know who's going to be the star of this show, but you don't necessarily know what sorts of torturous sequences we're about to be put through.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've talked about Rikushi's writing style. He likes to write like a roller coaster. This is part of that roller coaster.
Oh joy.
So yeah, I mean, I'm unless this is from a different character's perspective, this is you, same character.
Oh god.
Go nuts, I suppose.
I was looking at the key on a keychain. The key was labeled Hen House.
Oh Jesus.
But the lock Eriko was trying to open didn't belong to that door. It should have opened effortlessly. At least that's what was supposed to happen. But it didn't open.
That's not good.
I noticed the beads of sweat forming on Eriko's forehead. She was the one who came up with this idea. Eriko was starting to panic. The rest of us started to panic too. This only opens the hen house. Let's stop, let's go back.
Shush.
We were supposed to be cleaning out the hen house. If they found us back here, they found out why we were here and why we were trying to open up the lock to the back door.
Oh boy.
Then all four of us were sure to be sentenced to splayed piggy.
That sounds bad,
Whatever
that
the
is.
fuck that is. Don't panic, Eriko. That key opens this lock, right? You already tried it, right?
Will you shut up for a minute? This is the right key. It's just hard to open, that's all.
She was almost shrieking. Our hearts were pounding loudly. It was as though the sound of our heartbeats was echoing through the hallway. And at that point, we heard footsteps that didn't belong to a child.
That's not good.
Shit. Someone's coming.
The three of us?
There's 3 of them, and also Eriko, so I guess 4 of them. There are 4 characters here.
3 of us held our breath, but Eriko didn't hear it. She kept fussing with the lock and the key. As if everything would be okay if she could just open the lock. Eriko, somebody is coming, be quiet.
I know this is the right key. I'm not dreaming. I already tried and opened it. Come on, why isn't this working? When this lock is open, we can be happy, and we can say goodbye to this hell.
Eriko, someone's coming.
Ah! The credits are coming.
That was, okay. That was weird.
That was aggressive.
We probably should have taken a break between those 2 scenes because it just like made it kind of comical. Oh my god, here we go. This is still you, by the way.
My father and mother died.
That's fucked, dude.
I don't know exactly how old they were. I was too young to remember.
Okay, listen. The way that was phrased made it sound like we had just witnessed their deaths.
No.
And we were immediately dealing with the sad funeral music.
No, we are time jumping. We are ironically enough, or appropriately enough even, we are time jumping. To try and understand what's happened to this little girl. You don't understand. Let's go.
They went shopping without me, and that must be why they were punished. It was a train accident. What a terrible disaster. A lot of people died in that incident.
There must be a particular train incident that Ryukishi is referring to, because I feel like Japan has a very good track record of not having train accidents.
No pun intended. Track record. I love it.
Pun intended.
No, I mean, you're right. Like, the trains run on time in Japan, and I don't think they have a lot of train messes. I think in the anime, I believe it's actually a bus, which makes a little bit more sense, actually. But yeah, no, I don't know. Maybe there's some historical thing he's drawing from here.
But maybe my father was one of the lucky ones. He was still alive when he arrived at the hospital, so he was able to share his final words with me. My mother died instantly.
It's fucked.
That's right, he was one of the lucky ones who experienced excruciating pain.
Yeah.
Daddy! Daddy! Daddy!
But he got to see his little child.
I didn't want to admit that the person I could hardly recognize was my father. As I called out to him, I hoped that it was someone else instead. But, unfortunately, it was my father. Maybe I shouldn't have woken him.
Oh god.
Because when I woke him up, he was reminded of the miserable agony that he had forgotten.
I was gonna say.
Daddy! 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 He tried to move his right arm so he could pat my head.
Oh.
But his arm was wrapped in bandages.
Come mummy.
And his hand was no longer there.
Oh fuck.
I couldn't find his hand anywhere on the bed. I only had scary memories of his right hand. Its main job was to slap me when I did something bad, but I never wished it to be gone. Besides, that hand also patted my head, even though that only happened a few times. It was a big warm hand and it stroked my head gently, but no matter what good deeds I did, he could no longer rub my head.
Well, shit.
No. His hand was the least of his worries. He had to go into emergency surgery. The doctors already warned me that the chance of him surviving was very low. That was why I was allowed to see him, regardless of his condition. Not only could he no longer rub my head, he might be gone forever. Daddy, the surgery will make you better, right? Dad, you'll get better, right? Right?
Listen carefully. Your daddy might not make it. Even if I die, you have to be strong, okay?
No, you'll get better. The doctor is going to make you better. So, you're not going to die. He was a stubborn and old-fashioned father. He believed endurance was a virtue, and he never complained about anything.
Not even dying.
That was why I couldn't believe he actually said he might not make it. I tried desperately to deny his words, but even that wish wouldn't prolong his life. My father, knowing his time was limited, tried to tell me some important things, but I interrupted his efforts by crying like a baby.
Aw.
I just wanted him to slap me, just like he used to do every time I cried like a baby, but he would never slap me again.
Listen, well, your mother and I both lost all of our family in the war, so after I'm dead, there won't be anyone left to take care of you.
He didn't need to tell me that. My parents used to tell me that all the time, so I was aware of that fact. In other words, my father was the only relative I had left in this entire world.
We're the only family you have, so get used to it. If I die, you can count on Dr. Takano. Dr. Fumi Takano. Can you say it?
Fumi Takano.
That's right, yeah. Dr. Fumi Takano. He's my former teacher. He will help you.
Daddy. Many doctors came into the room in a hurry. He wanted to tell me something else, but the doctor stopped him from talking, so I wasn't able to hear him.
Damn.
I was kicked out of the room. I didn't know what to do. Nobody told me how my father was doing or when the surgery was going to start. And nobody told me. That was going to be the last conversation I ever had with my father.
Damn.
Listen, I'm not saying that he just told you that.
I mean, he implied it, okay? He didn't tell her explicitly. This nameless character. With no name. Yeah?
Such a weird detail that it's like her adoptive grandfather.
Yeah. She's gonna, like, take her name from him, basically.
Yeah. Like...
It's cool. It's an interesting idea. Like, especially with that conversation we're having about legacy and, like, viewing that, like, it's not about her actual biological family. It's about the person who, like, taught her about all of this stuff.
I think also it could be trying to analogize Satoshi, because obviously like the head patting and the family abuse thing.
Yeah. There's parallels there.
It's kind of showing that like escaping the scenario of abuse doesn't fix the entire problem.
Sure. I mean, let's just keep reading on the point of abuse. Let's keep going.
Yeah. I think I asked people at the government office about Dr. Takano. They'd asked me if I knew his phone number. I said I didn't. They didn't ask me anything further. Sometimes they told me they'd look into it, but nothing led to anything.
Damn.
They couldn't find me a guardian, so I ended up going to an orphanage. At the time, there were plenty of orphans from the war, so although there were many orphanages around, they were all full. There are also some orphanages run by civilians. I was sent to one of those civilian orphanages.
Well, that sounds all right.
There was no profit to be had in taking an orphan in the first place. So, I thought those civilians who were running orphanages must have been very good people.
Yeah.
I was sure they hoped the children would grow in this loving environment and enter into society with a sense of gratitude.
Why is your speech pattern so stilted?
But reality isn't so kind.
Oh no.
How many children in this world can actually express their gratitude towards their parents in the first place? Children are supposed to be nurtured by their parents' love. Therefore, when that environment is destroyed, their hearts are wounded. Every child has his or her own personality. Receiving affection doesn't guarantee that a child will become someone angelic. Not everyone's heart can be healed. That's why there were some problems at the orphanage. Maybe I shouldn't call them problem kids, though. The sadness and despair of losing their parents and the anger at having to hide such feelings filled those kids' hearts. Spending time individually with the children could have solved their problems. But at the orphanage where I was, none of the staff members even tried to spend time with them or put in an effort to understand them. All they could do was make sure that the kids followed the rules. Therefore, they could only see the children's emotional pleas for help as problems.
Uh-oh. The problems need to be rectified.
In this world, nobody expresses love without expecting something in return. The person who founded that orphanage was expecting something in return as well. He wanted the children to appreciate him. That was why such a faint dream was destroyed by cruel reality. The children called the orphanage a prison, and nobody appreciated the staff at all. In fact, all they did was complain. That made the staff slowly realize that love alone couldn't run a facility like that. Just like how the children called it a prison, the staff started to recognize the facility as a prison too. It was a chain reaction resulting from mistrust on both sides. The staff bound the children with rules so they could suppress problem behavior. There was a framed picture of the founder of this orphanage, but I'd never seen him in person. Was he satisfied with the fact that he put his own money into this social service? Or maybe he finally realized his dreams of being surrounded by angelic children, and being celebrated for what he did was simply that, a dream. I don't know, but there's one thing I'm certain of. Such a dream didn't exist at the orphanage.
It was the pits.
There were so many rules and several plausible standards outlined for us, but the most valued one was silence. Children's chatter tends to increase each other's volume, just like mics drawing closer, and sometimes that leads to fights and the disturbance of order. So children were forbidden from speaking with each other. With those disallowed, they must have thought things would go smoothly. However, I think I always heard people's voices in the orphanage. There were two kinds of voices. One was the staff yelling, and the other was the children crying. We were not allowed to walk around inside of the orphanage freely, so we never knew who it was that was crying. One time, along with the crying and yelling, we heard the noise of metallic things being smashed against each other. We knew it was some kind of punishment, but there was no way for us to even imagine what it was. We trembled, pretended we didn't hear anything, and kept working on our assignments.
You know, it's like a bronze bull. I feel like that's what he's evoking here, because a bronze bull, the idea is that you have a prison and you have the bronze bull, and you put people in the bronze bull to be cooked alive, and you take like bronze tubing from the mouth of the bull and from the bull itself and feed those pipes throughout the prison so that everyone can hear the screams of the person dying in the bronze bull. That is the imagery that I am imagining with this. Like, I could always hear someone crying and I didn't know what was happening to them, but it sounded awful. It's like this entire orphanage is not just a prison, but it's like a torture chamber.
Yeah.
Which is kind of brilliant. Also, we got the casket punishment. That sounds like an Iron Maiden to me. I'm scared.
One of my roommates told me it was the casket punishment, but she didn't tell me any further, and I didn't want to know either. Even if we behaved exactly the same way as yesterday, if the staff were in a bad mood, they might pick on us. So even if I didn't want to know, I might someday find out what the casket punishment is suddenly. The footsteps of a staff member were getting closer.
Uh-oh.
We noticed them, so we straightened our backs and pretended we were studying hard. It was more important that the staff saw us doing so than us actually getting any work done. I noticed the girl next to me was falling asleep, so I poked her with my elbow.
Is it Erica?
She noticed my signal and straightened her back like the other children. It was almost evening. This was the hardest time for us to keep ourselves awake, and the most dangerous time. The door to our room opened, and a mean-looking man showed up. Then he looked around to make sure none of us were falling asleep. Even if we were actually studying hard, if he thought we were asleep, we were out. That's why we had to make sure we appeared to be studying very hard. The man walked around our desks. I hoped he would just walk by me. That was what we all prayed as we kept working on our homework. The more we pretended to study hard, the more we could hear the sound of metal objects. The sound of metal objects crashing into each other, along with screams. We couldn't even imagine what the poor subject of that punishment was going through. Maybe there was something even worse than the casket punishment. To erase such fears, we tried to concentrate even harder on our work. We kept working, as the metal sounds and the screams went on forever. Spooky.
Forever. There you go. It's messed up, dude. Hey, it's that moon that we cut in half that one time with the giant cleaver. Oh, there it goes. It's Shion's room now.
The only time we were allowed to exchange words with our roommates was right after turning the lights off to go to bed. Being located in the middle of the mountains, the orphanage was very quiet at night. After making sure the staff members were far enough from our room, we enjoyed talking amongst ourselves. It was the only leisure time allowed to us. Though it wasn't anything nice like enjoying pleasant conversation. Why? Because we mostly talked about others behind their backs. We spoke of things like that a member of the staff is only strict or unfair or malicious towards this person, and so on. We just repeated those topics forever until someone couldn't keep themselves awake anymore. We even discussed how we could get back at the staff. And we took revenge on all of them in our imagination. Some kids even started to cry when talking about it, difficult as it was for us. Although the subjects we spoke of were negative, talking about them was the only way to vent our frustration, and even though we felt despair about tomorrow, we were able to fall asleep. But sometimes a different subject popped up. It was about the Urigaoka, House of Love and Mercy on the other side of the river.
That'd be Urigaoka.
Urigaoka?
Yeah, Gao. Gao! Okay.
Yeah, over there I hear they get not only nap time, but snack time too. Plus their president is a very nice person.
That sounds amazing.
The House of Love and Mercy was a privately run orphanage, just like the one I was at. But it was a very kind facility unlike ours. It seemed like a fantasy land compared to our current environment.
Seemed like?
A few years before, when this place was a lot worse, a few children tried to escape. It was hard to believe there was a time when this orphanage was even worse to live at. Supposedly, 3 or 4 people tried to escape. I don't know the exact number, though. They headed to the House of Love and Mercy. Their escape was a success. Except for one unlucky child, they were able to get to the property of the House of Love and Mercy. I guess the staff couldn't follow them into the other orphanage's property. In other words, the other facility's property had to be out of their jurisdiction.
Whoa.
Oh, what just happened there?
Was that intentional? I can't imagine.
I don't think so.
It's very strange.
The staff were frustrated that kids got away from them, and they dragged the one they caught back here. I'm sure they wanted to bring back the others who got away from them too. I'm certain the staff were determined not to let a single one escape. It was easy to see that determination in the obstinate way they locked the place up after the event. But they were never able to bring back the ones that got away. No matter how much the staff were mortified, they couldn't reclaim the children and punish them. In other words, if you could make it to the House of Love and Mercy, then you could escape the evil clutches of this hell. On the other hand, the one they caught went through such misery afterwards. Yet the exact details of how he was punished were never passed down. All that remained were the ominous phrases left by those who knew him at the time. The drowned ducky.
The drowned ducky.
The mashed caterpillar.
Mashed caterpillar.
The splayed piggy.
Splayed piggy. Oink oink.
I can't even imagine what kind of punishments they were. The only thing I can say is that those punishments were supposed to be far more harsh than the casket punishment, which was the most cruel punishment I knew of at the time. I can only imagine how horrible those punishments were from their ominous names.
In the manga version, they actually decided to draw each of those punishments. They're pretty messed up. Pretty crazy stuff. I think I like it more that we don't know what they are. We just hear the splayed piggy.
It's kind of
That's
more
my least
menacing
favorite,
this
but
way.
I think so too. I think it's way cooler to be like, there's these really awful punishments. Like the description of there was lots of metal clashing and there's lots of crying everywhere. It's like, I don't know what's happening, but I don't want it. I don't want that. It's bad.
After that, the captured kid's wish came true, and he was
died.
able to leave the orphanage.
He died.
Was he able to leave this orphanage safely and enjoy his freedom while breathing in fresh air under the blue sky?
Oh.
Well, according to the rumors, that wasn't what happened at all. While he was playing in the boiler room, he slipped and fell, injured his brain, and died.
That's messed up. At least he died while playing though. There are worse ways to go out. Let's be real.
The children were instructed not to go into the boiler room after that incident. Everyone knew the boiler room was always locked. So everyone knew he was killed. And not just that, he was killed after being tortured. He was killed to teach the other children that they would face hell on earth if they tried to escape. Yet those who faced that risk and made it out attained ordinary average lives full of love and mercy's namesake, which were far better conditions than we lived in here.
They became gods to us, one might even say.
Maybe the House of Love and Mercy really was heaven. Maybe all the orphanages are pretty much the same. But compared to my orphanage, I bet anything else would have been better. And if someone else escaped successfully, the police would catch him. Then they'd be sent back to the orphanage, which would be pretty much the same as being killed. However, if they could reach the House of Love and Mercy, they'd take them in. They wouldn't send them back. By talking about escaping the House of Love and Mercy, we were trying to forget how cruel reality was to us. Then one day, the leader of our group, Eriko, said to us quietly,
Here we go. Would you try to escape if you had a chance to?
Who didn't want to escape from here? It was a rather foolish question, but that wasn't what she meant.
If there was a chance to escape, would you take that chance, knowing what you had to go through if you got caught?
That was what she meant. Not one of us could answer immediately. If the previous escape incident was a total success, then we might have thought differently. But after that, the orphanage had tightened up security to prevent runaways. All the doors and windows were locked, and it wouldn't be easy at all to get out. Even if another group's escape was planned, the success rate would be very low. 3 escaped and 1 was caught before. Maybe 2 would be caught next time. No, maybe everyone would be. If I could, I'd want to escape.
But the House of Love and Mercy is so far away. The bridge is long, too. We'll all be caught before we get there.
Besides, we can't even go outside. Everything is locked up. There were locks all over the orphanage. To escape, you'd need a key for both the inside and the outside. And after the lights were turned off, even each section of the hallway was individually locked. Make no mistake, this was a prison. According to the rumors, orphanages receive government funding depending on the number of children they house. So if anyone tries to escape, they lose money. Also, if we were to expose the conditions at the orphanage, they would end up being inspected and things would get complicated for them. That was why they were so intent on keeping us locked up.
It's messed up. System is broken.
Sure, if there was a chance, I would want to escape, but realistically, there's no way we could. Every door is locked.
Well, did you know the hen house in the courtyard uses the same key as the door to the back stairs?
Really?
Shh.
Eriko shushed us. Sometimes mass-produced locks take the same key. Of course, most places use different types of locks so that this won't happen, but the staff at the orphanage must have overlooked it. So there were 2 locks that used the same key at the orphanage. However, most of us never had a chance to even touch the keys, but there were a few exceptions. One of those was the hen house. Each room group took turns taking care of different chores. If your group was assigned to clean the hen house, you'd have to get the key to it from the teacher's office. You were supposed to return the key immediately after you were done. But while taking care of the hen house, the key was in the children's hands. While the staff would occasionally come around to check, they wouldn't keep an eye on us forever.
So they have opportunity, means, and motivation. They're ready.
Eriko-chan, you aren't thinking about using that key, are you?
Let's not. It's too dangerous. Of course it's dangerous if there's only one of us, but it's different if we're in a group.
Wait, why?
Do you know why only one kid was caught the last time they tried to escape?
They were desperate, and so to escape as a group, they did something to increase the chance of success. That was why only one of them was caught. What did they do?
They scattered as they ran. They dashed in different directions. They waited until the day when there were only a few people working at the orphanage and ran this way and that.
And so, although it all depended on luck, it would increase the chance of success for sure. On your own, you'd probably have no hope, but if the staff were to chase after other children, then your own chance of escaping successfully would increase. In other words, Eriko was inviting us to escape with her. The more children joined, the more each of our chances would increase. But among us, there were children who tattled to the staff for their own benefit.
It's fucked up.
So she had to be very careful about who she talked to. Eriko must have trusted us a lot.
Stitches get stitches, that's what I say.
Eriko, me, Tomomi.
Tomomi? Yeah, Tomomi and Kikuko.
Tomomi and Kikuko.
There you go.
4 children.
Nailed it. Do any of you want to stay here a day longer?
The 3 of us shook our heads, but at the same time, we couldn't agree to escape with her either. Of course, we don't want to stay here a day longer or even an hour longer.
Even if we did exactly the same thing as we did yesterday, we might get yelled at tomorrow. I can't stand this anymore. I can't stand living in fear of what to do and what not to do so I won't be yelled at.
We all feel the same way. We could endure strict rules, but it was almost impossible to endure vague ones. It wasn't too much of a stretch to say the rules depended on the mood of the staff. This is okay, that isn't okay. Such borderline rules change daily. And if we were to say anything about that, we would be treated horribly for it.
I will escape, even if I have to do it alone. Like I said, the more people that join, the better our chance. Think about it. If they find out about this henhouse key trick, they're sure to change the lock on the back door. In other words, we only have one chance, so even if you regret not joining in later, it'll be too late.
But I'm scared.
I'm scared too. If we get caught, we'll be killed.
Tomomi and Kikuko weren't the only ones who felt afraid. The fear was perfectly understandable, because all of a sudden, the fear of the punishment that would follow had become very realistic. I'm sure Eriko felt the same way too, but her courage was suppressing her fear.
Hell yes.
And because of that, she shared her idea with us.
So, Do you plan to stay here forever?
No way.
I know you're scared, but this is the only chance we have. You have to be brave, just this once. What about you, Miyoko? Don't you want to go with me?
Unlike Tomomi and Kikuko, I wasn't trembling that much. Of course, I was scared in my own way, but compared to the other two, I must have appeared rather calm. Can we really escape? Of course, Eriko couldn't guarantee our success, but I had to ask her anyway.
Not for all four of us. There's no guarantee, but if you join me, I'll have a better chance of escaping than trying to run on my own. Of course, the same goes for you too.
Who betrayed them, Ben? Place your bets.
My money's on Tomomi because she starts with a T. I don't trust that person.
Alright, sounds good.
I don't trust her.
Eriko gave a calculated reason, but I'm sure she just wanted a friend to agree with her. That was probably more important to her than increasing her chances to escape.
Tomomi, Kikuko, if you're scared, then I won't force you. Miyoko and I will escape ourselves. 2 is enough.
Well... Eriko rushed the two to make up their minds.
That ain't good.
It almost looked cold, but that was her way of mustering their courage, because it was very possible that regardless of the outcome of the escape attempt, our roommates, those two, would be held responsible.
It's not like we'll do it tomorrow. Our turn to take care of the henhouse is in a week. We'll wait for the perfect time to do it. If we don't feel it's safe, then we'll wait until the next time. We'll be very careful.
The rotation of the staff and the timing were important, but we also each had to know the way to the House of Love and Mercy. We were planning to split up, so we had to know the area. I made up my mind. Okay, I'm coming with you. But let's time our escape very carefully, okay?
Of course. We'll be killed if we get caught. I don't want to die. I'll come too.
Me too. Tomomi and Kikuko agreed, and so we all decided to escape as a group. We waited for the perfect opportunity. We waited for the day where only a few staff members were at the orphanage, and we decided to let God take care of the rest.
Oh, don't invoke God. That's a bad plan. It's open!
Maybe it was the way I did it. Eriko tried to open the lock several times without success, but I got it open on the first attempt. The back door opened slowly, and we felt a cool breeze. This wasn't the world of freedom just yet. In fact, it was the exact opposite. If the staff were to find out we were here, we'd be in big trouble. It was a world of danger. But unless we went through that dangerous world, we wouldn't be able to go any further. Okay, let's go. I think Eriko wanted to say that. We were planning to leave with that as our cue. But what we heard instead wasn't Eriko's voice.
What are you kids doing there?
We started to run. It was raining. We all got soaked immediately and our clothes stuck to our skin. While that would normally be very uncomfortable, we couldn't even stop to think about that. We could only keep running in the rain. We were dashing on gravel, but it felt more like trudging through a muddy rice field. My feet kept sinking and I couldn't pull them up. I was frustrated because no matter how fast I tried to run, I wasn't gaining any speed. I felt a sense of urgency. I heard someone yelling escape behind me, and all I could do was run like crazy.
Okay, everyone, go in different directions. Scatter! Come on, scatter! Fucking go that way!
With Eriko's cue, we all went different ways. Hoping they wouldn't be coming after us, would we be able to reunite safely at the House of Love and Mercy? All 4 of us there together, or maybe someone would be missing. No, maybe everyone else would make it, and I'd be the one who gets caught. My thoughts were interrupted by the voice of a staff member coming from behind me.
Hold it! Wait, hold it right there!
The staff members should have numbered fewer than us, so if I was lucky, they wouldn't be coming after me. Praying that the staff voices I heard in the distance weren't after me, I looked back for a moment.
Oh, don't look back.
If I had time to turn around, why didn't I take another step forward?
Oh, you fool.
Why didn't I try to escape further?
Classic mistake.
As I turned around, I felt a huge hand cover my face. Its pinky finger slipped into my open mouth. The hand grabbing my face shoved me into the muddy gravel. Of course, I didn't stay quiet. I fought back, and then I saw his face. It was the scariest face I'd ever seen. I realized it immediately. He only wanted to capture me alive to use me as an example. And considering what would happen to me afterwards, killing me here on the spot wouldn't pose any problem, wouldn't? Yes. He looked at me with otherworldly hate, ready to end my life here and now. His pinky finger ended up touching my tongue, the indescribably nasty taste sent an icky feeling through my whole body. That's it. This is what my murder tastes like. He was going to shove that finger down my windpipe and suffocate me.
Jesus.
And so in order to live, I fought back the only way I could.
Oh. Ah.
Something warm filled my mouth. It felt like swallowing blood after a nosebleed.
I mean...
I spit it from my mouth and ran without turning around, leaving behind the staff member clutching his pinky finger.
Damn, there's some good instincts if nothing else. You little shit, damn you, I'll kill you!
I heard his roars echoing behind me. It wasn't a man that was after me, it was a beast. He had no interest in capturing me. His only goal was to see me dead. My shoes had slipped off. They weren't sneakers, so they came off easily while I was running like mad. My bare feet struck the gravel over and over. It was painful, but I didn't care, because if I stopped, I knew what would happen to me. Tree branches cut my face and barbed wires scratched my thighs. My feet and toes were bloody from running on gravel. The blood from the staff member's pinky finger dripped down from my mouth, staining my chin and chest. I was running for my life with scratches and cuts. Over my body. If I were to get caught, I'd be killed. If my pursuer had any sense, then I'd be killed after being tortured. But if he didn't, I'd be killed on the spot. I don't want to be killed. My lungs and heart were about to explode. My mind was blank from fear and a lack of oxygen. I was about to lose consciousness. I might have given in if I didn't hear the voice of the staff member coming after me. My knees were shaking. My legs wouldn't move properly. I felt like I was going to fall like a puppet without strings, but I couldn't fall. I couldn't fall just yet. It was too late. My face had hit the gravel. I felt the awful sensation of falling.
Cover yourself with mud. He can't detect you. Quick.
And immediately after, the roar of the beast coming from behind me.
Oh shit! Damn you, my finger! My finger! What?
Must have hit my thigh against the steering wheel when I jumped. I can feel the throbbing pain delayed slightly. I'm sweating all over. I wiped the sweat on my forehead and my hand on my chest, realizing how fast my heart was beating. I rubbed my thigh. I rubbed it in a straight line. It's not where I hit the steering wheel, but I feel like this is where it hurts.
Oh my god.
I can't see a scary beast in the moonlit car. I have my shoes on and I'm not covered in blood. My toes are fine too. For some reason, there's still fucking seagulls in the distance. Someone knocked on the window, startling me.
Who could it be? Oh, it's not this. Major, it's time.
Thank you. I wanted to take a nap, so I told him to come wake me up in an hour. Maybe an hour was too long. Too long a nap actually makes you tired.
That's just good science.
I put my seat back up and got out of the car. The cool breeze feels good on my skin. I only see the moon. There's nothing else to see on this mountain trail. My car and a command vehicle disguised as a trailer are parked on the other side of the street. I can still feel that bad taste in my mouth. I spat it out on the side of the street. But even that couldn't get rid of it. Taste of blood, saliva, and rain. Sweat from my forehead and raindrops got into my mouth, but I couldn't swallow, so I ended up drooling. The sensation around my lips brought back memories, and I had to wipe my mouth.
Could you imagine having a mobile command center? Because it's a trailer, right? Like, you could hook that up to a car, presumably, or at least a truck, and just, like, cut it around. You could go on a holiday with your mobile command center that, like, launches gas and coordinates military units.
Yeah,
how cool would that be?
It doesn't sound like it'd be very comfortable accommodation for such things.
I mean, it looks good. Like, it's well equipped enough that it looks like a trailer from the outside. I'm just saying, throw a bed in there at the end of the mobile command center, have it like flip out into a console or something. You're there. Or maybe like the armory turns into an ensuite. I'm just saying, there are options here. Takano can have.
So what
like,
you're describing then is
greatest...
just buying a camper van and an RV and just whacking a computer in it. That's all you really want
a
here.
Command console for Felix. Come on now. It's not just any kind of computer. It's a command console. It's got like beeping lights and switches.
That's what computer's short for. It's command console pewter. That's the full title.
Command Conquer. Look, I'm just saying I want it's terrible. I'm just saying I want a more interesting computer and I want it to look like one of those fancy military command consoles and I want to be able to drive it around. Is that too much to ask? World?
No, not really.
Okay, good. Maybe one.
You could probably buy one. You just don't have the money to do so.
You know what? You're right. We're getting there, though. That's my dream. Command console trailer.
Maybe I'm nervous.
You are nervous.
That's why I had such a bad dream. I think there's a coffee machine in the command vehicle. An unpleasant cup of coffee will wake me up.
She has everything she could want.
So has anything happened yet?
No, not yet. We just gotta give her a scheduled check-in. Everything is okay over there.
I see. Hey, could someone make me a cup of coffee?
Sure. Cream and sugar?
Just cream, please. No, please put in some sugar too.
Sure. Would you like me to lay out your bathrobes and all that sort of stuff? You know, your PJs, you know? Got this futon for you.
I still have a bad taste in my mouth. The feeling of biting and crushing his little finger and his filthy blood filling my mouth.
Gross.
I'm sure a sweeter cup of coffee will wash down that bad taste and also wake me up from my nightmare completely.
She is born to be pampered. This lady.
And scene.
And
Yay!
scene. There we go. We made it. And that's the opening of Mitsurubayashi, which is like 4 entirely different scenes tonally. It's a fucking minute. What does that say? I can't read
The
it
House
from
of Love and Mercy.
I see. It's a little quirky joke for you there. And like, we've gotten so much information about Takano in this opening chapter. It's insane. How you feeling, Felix? I mean, Chrono. What do I call you?
Disturbed?
Yeah, no, that's fair.
I will say, that entire sequence felt like a checklist of everything that the main cast has gone through.
Yep.
It was very formulaically going through all of the traumas that the main cast have experienced and saying, hey, Takano has this one too.
Takano's fucked up like everybody else, basically. That's what's going on here, right?
Like, I think the only one that doesn't really fit in is maybe Keiichi.
Yeah. He's special. So.
Well, but the thing I was going to say is that, like,
I mean, there's still time for Takano to shoot someone. Oh, wait.
Well, yeah, but that's a present action rather than a past trauma, right? You know, you could stretch it and say that like Takano hasn't gotten recognition, and that's kind of comparing Keiichi to the relationship that she had with her grandfather.
Maybe.
Alternatively, you could say that Keiichi is intentionally an outlier, and that's why he's the piece of the puzzle that can disrupt her plan.
Sure. You could choose to interpret it in that way.
So
I don't think it's that complicated.
I don't think it's that complicated either, but I think that's kind of like where I'm torn on why that point on the checklist wasn't as directly ticked off as all the others.
The thing that you've obviously attached onto is the fact that like Takano's her backstory, literally what we just saw, is supposed to, you know, reflect the cast and like how all these other characters have gone through traumas and they've learned to like fix shit. So like we'll see what happens with Takano. I think the most direct one that you kind of mentioned is Sadako. Up to the point that like, I mean, we saw her in Higurashi seeming to actually bond with Sadako in a way that she doesn't with really any other member of the cast. And it's probably because they're both orphans in like that really direct way. Because Rika obviously has her like time travel bullshit that lets her cope with it in a different way. But like, I think that Takano is somewhere deep in there. If we're viewing Higurashi in particular, like, does she actually empathize with Sadako? That's yes.
Well, I felt similarly about the scene with Rena in Arc 6, which I think you know, you can go back to that point on the checklist and look at how, you know, having like going through a trial with her friends, like her experience back at her previous school, being disconnected from where you come from, having a strained relationship with your father figure, like all of those things tie in as well. So like, you know, trying to say which is the most direct, I feel.
I still say Seiko's is the most direct, but I mean, we've seen in past episodes, we've seen fucking Rena and Shion both have a conversation with Takano, which is like, actually, I totally get where you're coming from. And like, I mean, you're pretty on top of this stuff, but like for most people, this is to show that even though we've gone from like, if you don't suspect Takano, you're thinking, oh, well, Takano's been like a cool bro, even though she's a bit weird, to, oh, actually, she was evil the whole time. And then back to, well, actually, maybe she does empathize. She's just like messed up in the head. You know, like she actually is a real person, a real human being. And that's kind of what this opening is supposed to show us, right?
Yeah. I guess the point I was going to make there, though, was that like trying to pick which she matches with more kind of defeats the purpose of the exercise that she matches with all of them.
Sure.
Right? And then back to that point about Keiichi, but yeah.
Sure. It's fine.
What a peculiar opening. I really wasn't expecting. I was expecting this to be like maybe kind of 2/3 of the way through this arc.
No, it just
or like
blasted open.
The end of last arc.
Yeah, I mean, this is what I was talking about at the start of this episode. I was like, I don't know how this is going to start because this is what I remembered, but I wasn't sure if we would like get a scene with Hanyu and Rika like to contextualize this. No, it's just straight into the shit. I had thought that because the way the anime is structured, there's like 4 episodes that are in the past. It just like gets everything out of the way, or maybe it's 2 or 3 episodes. Doesn't matter. It's a couple episodes in the past, and I thought that they'd done that strictly for structural reasons to like make it make sense. But it seems like it's just how it is in the visual novel.
Yeah,
which is exciting, more or less, anyway.
Wow.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to the next one.
Welcome back to Higurashi. This is Matsuri Bayashi.
We're in the thick of it, and we will see you
next time.
Next time.